Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. We last left off at the car meet. We ended up taking my buddy Luciano's motorcycle. Runs really well, honestly. Night and day difference compared to mine, as you've probably heard me mention it several times. Went to get my motorcycle. I enjoyed the afternoon with my motorcycle. This morning I got all what I needed to make my repair on the turbo return line. So it was a lot quicker than I anticipated, so I did that. I banged it out, and now we have time to do other things. Wasn't really going to do other things, but we'll do those things. One of the things I wanted to do was the oil cooler. As I had mentioned in that video for the oil cooler, I didn't really like the spot that it's in, and hopefully one day we can come around to try and find a new location for it. So hopefully today's the day we can find a new location for it. So I got the front end all off. Oil cooler's there. It was making a bit of a mess, so I had to put it in like some catch can of some sort. So I'm hoping to put it somewhere like the radiator here. I know it's a bit tight, so we're gonna have to see what we can do. Let me see if I can find some brackets and try and MacGyver something. See if we can find a good spot for it. I ended up getting some brackets here at the bottom, so it looks pretty good like this. Now for the top part, I have something like this that I mocked up, which will hold it to the side like such. Give it a little bit of a twist here in the middle, so I can match both faces evenly. The other side, I already have it mocked up here. So pretty much like this, and it's ready to go. Give it some paint, and we can reassemble everything. This is where I've ended up. I had to readjust the lines. They were too long. The cooler is final mounted at the bottom. I have these brackets here that I'm just waiting for paint to dry up. Okay, which are going to be mounted here at the top through that hole there, and vice versa on the other side. Boom, boom. There, I didn't make the hole yet, but this is what it's going to be, and it's going to be all hidden behind the intercooler. So sweet. So I got my brackets all put in place, both sides. Everything is tight. This thing is not going nowhere. The AN fittings as well are tight. I think we're pretty much well ready to start it up and see if it leaks. So the car is on, it's running. It's about 150 degrees right now. I did let it run for a bit, so it doesn't seem to be leaking, which is a good sign. The hoses are hot. So if the hoses are hot, it means it's getting oil. Sometimes it's hard to tell if it's leaking or not, just because it's so glossy. Alright, well, I guess it's time to reassemble everything. Oh yeah. So, it's a couple of days later. We ended up putting the oil cooler in a different spot, where it gets a lot more air in the front, right in front of the radiator, right behind the intercooler. So I've been driving it for a couple of days now, as I've mentioned, and it's a lot better in that spot, that's for sure, because my oil temps are a lot better. Like now I'm just cruising on the highway. It's just shy of 195 degrees Fahrenheit, which prior to this whole installation I would have been probably at 215 Fahrenheit. So that's a nice big difference. So far no leaks as well, and it's in such a pretty decent spot for me to verify if it's leaking that I just take off the grill quickly, and just put in a flashlight and I can see if it's leaking. And so far so good. So what we're doing today is test and tune, which consists of driving, recording my driving, and making corrections to my fuel. The majority of it is pretty good. It's still rich when I rip it. Right now I'm tuning for 15 psi. It's not my goal. My goal is actually more than that. Hopefully 25 to 30 psi once again. But we're going to start slow and work our way up. So I have it already tuned at 6 to 9 psi, which is what I was running on the previous engine. Plus or minus a couple of little adjustments because of the two different engines, different compressions. So the fueling is maybe just a little bit different. But the gist of it is pretty well there. Now it's a whole new ball game with my 15 psi. So that part of the map was really, really rich. I would beat on it just to give you an example, and it would be about 10.5 to 1 AFR, which is really rich. 200 kPa, which is 15 psi. I'm aiming for about 11.8 AFR. And obviously, if we do get into the higher PSI range, most likely 11.5 is the ideal spot. Sorry, it's really a bit of a stiff suspension here, so every bump the camera's just moving up and down. I don't have my GoPro with me, so we're just recording with my phone. Just waiting for some open road to give her a pull. And then we're going to make corrections. So far, my AFRs, I've been doing corrections for quite some time now at 15 psi. Well, I say 15 psi, but it varies between 15 to 17 psi because of the electronic boost controller. But we'll average it at 15 psi. And already, like, as I was getting better with my AFRs, which now, like I was going to say, is 11.3, I'm aiming for an 11.8, so a little bit more adjusting to do. And it starts to peel when I shift from first to second, and I didn't do that before, so you can feel the power is there. I can only imagine what 30 psi would feel like. That's why a lot of people end up doing a all-wheel drive conversion. Too much work. I'm gonna slow down now. Shift to third and take off. Let's go. Oh man, she used to go at 9 psi. This is a whole new ballgame. And my AFR there, quickly I got a glance at it. It was, I think, 11.5. which is a lot better. And you can feel, like, as you're making the adjustments on the AFRs, the car responds a lot better because you're flooding it initially at like 10.5. So as you start to lean it out a little bit, you feel that power increase, and like now it's really starting to go. So I'm gonna pull over now. We're gonna look at the log, obviously at the next exit. So, I apologize in advance. This is kind of a janky laptop. I dropped it a couple of times, I think, and the screen cracked, so I had to kind of put some tape to hold it from having the glass fall out, but it works. Anyways, so essentially this is what it is. So this was my whole driving that I was recording. I recorded in shots because if I just do one long 4-hour drive of all this, I mean, yes, it's good, I have a lot of data, but I'm just focusing on the top end part, which is this peak right here. Follow the mouse. Now I'm gonna zoom in a bit more. So I took off here. So over here we have my fueling table, and this is my AFR table. So I'm using this to make my corrections and this as a reference. For those that don't know, it's a Megasquirt 3 Pro Evo computer for the car, so it gives us access to do all these modifications and adjustments, where for the original computers they're limited and you don't have access to all this for safety reasons, I guess you can say. So getting back to what I was saying, we're gonna follow the map here. So at this point right here, it tells me I'm supposed to have an 11 to 11.8 AFR, and I'm at 12.2, so that's not too bad. The critical spot is when you're in heavy boost. So an example here, I'm at 15.4 psi. My AFR target is 11.8 and my actual is 11.9, so that's really good. And as I'm going up in the RPM range, my AFR target is still 11.8, but my AFR is getting slightly richer. So at this point, we're at 11.6. We're progressing upwards. So at 6,006 RPM, we're at 11.4 AFR. And then it starts to get still pig rich-ish. Oh no, it's not. It's just a slight variation in AFR. So we're at 11.4 here, going back and forth. We're going up. It sees an 11.2. And then it goes back to an 11.6 at 6,800 RPM, which is still pretty decent. And this is when I let off the gas. So you can tell when I let off the gas, it's still rich because it just, for that brief moment, it shoots in some fuel until you shift, and then it falls back into whatever your AFR target is. So, conclusion, I think I still need a little bit of leaning out in this area here. Again, I apologize for the shitty computer. So we're gonna take out 0.6. And we're gonna turn on the car. Now I am running a Bluetooth adapter, so it registers to my computer automatically, and it detects the change. So I'm gonna send the change to the computer of the car, and we're gonna try again. So that's pretty much what tuning is about, besides the ignition table, which in my case is already tuned by my supplier of the computer, KP Tuned. I'll put a link in the description for those that are interested in buying a plug-and-play adapter harness for the VR6. He's really good. He makes you the plug-and-play adapter, so you can literally just disconnect your old previous computer, plug in all that's needed for the new setup. It's really stupid-proof, so it's good, beneficial. And those that are not comfortable with making adjustments, you can record your log, send it to him, and he'll make the corrections, as he's really busy, so it might take a couple of days or a week sometimes before you get your reply, which is understandable. He's a one-man show, if I recall correctly. And that's it, guys. So we're going to repeat the process. We're going to keep driving around, make adjustments as necessary, and correct them. So I'm going to give you guys just a show of what I was talking about earlier with the oil cooler. Oh, so I popped the hood already. Make our way outside. Let's pop the hood. Oh yeah, one hand. Oh, she's hot. So literally just gotta undo this part here, undo that part there, and the grill is pretty mobile. Pops right out, and you can see back there oil cooler fitting number 1, which is nice and dry at the bottom, and fitting number 2. Let's see, do we get a nice view? Yep, pretty good. It's not leaking either, nothing sweating, so that's a plus. Now we gotta just put the grill back in its spot like that. Of course, now it's gonna give me a hard time. Okay, there we go. Clip and clip. Clip and clip. There you go. So my electronic boost controller is actually right there. Oh yeah, since I'm here, let me see if my return for the turbo is leaking. And there's no oil on the skid plate next to the axle, no oil on the subframe, so that's a good thing, which means we're good. So let's continue our test and tune.